On Friday, October 21st, 1966, a mountain of coal waste perched above the Welsh mining village of Aberfan broke loose and came flowing down uncontrollably. Destabilized by recent rains, a river of black coal sludge, water and boulders bore down on Aberfan. It steamrolled over a tiny cottage halfway down the slope, thundered through Penflag's junior school, obliterated a further 20 houses, then finally came to rest. A total of 144 people, including many children, were crushed or suffocated to death in one of Britain's most horrific peacetime tragedies. Every life lost was precious, but the death of 116 innocent children killed in the school tore at the very heart of the nation. In cruel irony, the youngsters had been making their way back to their classrooms after singing "All Things Bright and Beautiful" at the morning assembly when the disaster struck. No one in the close-knit community was unaffected by the tragedy, and the bereaved parents would never recover from their loss. But for one family, the overriding grief was even more acute. For one of those killed, 10-year-old Errol Mai Jones had not only predicted the catastrophe, but had warned her mother of it too. In the days leading up to the atrocity, Errol had told her mother she was not afraid to die. "I shall be with Peter and June," she added. Errol's busy mother offered her imaginative daughter a lollipop and thought no more of it. Then, on October 20th, the day before the disaster, Errol said to her mother, "Let me tell you about my dream last night. I dreamt I went to school and there was no school there. Something black had come down all over it." The next day, Errol's horrific premonition came to pass, and she was killed alongside school friends Peter and June. They were buried side by side in a mass grave, just as the youngster had predicted. You can only guess at the torment Errol's mother must have suffered, perhaps berating herself for not keeping her child out of school or warning everyone in the village. Tales like this of horrific events seen in dreams litter history. And now a comprehensive new book of medical doctor Larry Dossey, who has himself experienced premonitory dreams, collates some of the most extraordinary examples. The terrorist atrocities of September 11, 2001 were preceded by a slew of premonitions. A week before the attack, one North Carolina mother dreamt about spinning into blackness and heard a man's voice repeating 2,830, 2,830, and a name she couldn't make out. It sounded like Rooks or Haruks, she said. Disturbed by the dream, the woman canceled the tickets the family had to fly to Disneyland on September 11th, despite protest from her husband that she was overreacting. When news emerged on September 11th of the planes flying into New York's Twin Towers, with another hitting the Pentagon and a fourth crashing into a field in Pennsylvania, the woman's caution was vindicated. Most bizarrely, 2,830, the number repeated over and over in her dream, was the confirmed tally of deaths at that time. And the name, Rooks or Haruks, was that of Michael Horrocks, first officer of United Airlines Flight 175, which crashed into the South Tower. In an even more chilling example, World Trade Center employee Lawrence Bousseau had a dream in September that the towers were crashing down around him. A few days later, his wife dreamt the streets of Manhattan were littered with debris. The images were not specific enough to prevent Bousseau from going to work on September 11th, and he perished there, but not before helping to rescue several children stuck in a care center on the ground floor. Sometimes premonitions allow the person to pinpoint a specific time and place, leaving the dreamer enough time to alter the course of the disaster. In one such instance, Dossey recounts the tale of a mother living in Washington state who awoke at 2:30 a.m. from a nightmare. She had dreamt that a large chandelier that hung above her baby's crib had fallen and crushed him. In the dream, a violent storm was raging, and the time on the clock read 4:35 a.m. Alarmed, the woman woke up, went into the next room, and took the baby back to her bed. 2 hours later, the couple was woken by a loud crash. They dashed into their child's room to find the crib demolished by the chandelier, which had fallen directly onto it. In a further twist, a storm was raging, and the time on the clock read 4:35 a.m. Not all of those who dream of future events manage to interpret them correctly. Indeed, one of the common features of premonitions is that they're often fragmented and vague. Interestingly, the vacancy rate on all 4 flights that crashed on September 11, 2001 was high. On the Boeing 757 that crashed into the Pentagon, only 64 of 289 seats were taken. Meanwhile, the plane that crashed into the World Trade Center's North and South Towers were 74% and 81% empty. Indeed, the occupancy rate of all 4 doomed planes that day was a mere 21%, despite being commuter services. There is an explanation for humans' ability to predict the future, rooted in evolution. It makes sense that we would develop our ability to see impending dangers and take appropriate measures. From the standpoint of evolutionary biology, the ability to bypass the physical senses is the sort of ability that an intelligent, survival-oriented organism might sooner or later develop. Furthermore, we are more likely to have premonitions about those to whom we are emotionally attached. Coincidence, or proof of something more mysterious at work? Dossie and others like him believe in premonitions, believe that there's something more to this world, beyond what we can see.